morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Town of Star Valley Ranch work session on Tuesday, March 10th. It is 10:02 a.m. and we do have all council members in attendance. Let the record also reflect we have Town Administrator Aiken, Town Treasurer Mason, and Town Clerk Hurd, as well as Building Official Gazier in attendance. For the council, could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
It's been moved by Councilman Ellis. Is there a second? I'll second. Seconded by Councilman Merrill. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, moving right on to discussion items. The first item is the administrator's update. So Administrator Aiken, what do you have for us today?
Well, first thing I'd like to talk about is our roads. This was kind of a very unique winter. It's different than anyone I've ever seen here. But given that it didn't really freeze the ground, when we plow snow, we move as much dirt and rock as we do snow when it's not frozen. So our roads are in a condition where they need a lot of work. So we'll put something on our website by tomorrow. But what we're planning on doing here is we have the guys out just running the grader right now as they can. But the problem is that you have water just under the surface of the road. So you can't actually fix a dirt road until it dries out. And when we run a grader, it just fills in the holes and every vehicle that travels over just displaces that dirt road. So it only lasts a few days. But as soon as things dry out, we're gonna have West Hills come in with their grader and use our grader, try to rehab all the roads as fast as we possibly can. And then we'll roll them. And there are some other areas where we need to do some more significant things. For example, on Vista East, from Vista to Green Canyon, just given all the digging that's happened there on different water lines and things in the last 2 years, that road is in pretty bad shape. So we've ordered some mesh rolls, and we'll take out about 8 inches of roadway there, put the rolls down and pack it down with the road base and roll it. And that should stabilize some more significant problems in the roadways. And then of course, when we get up over 50 degrees consistently without weather, we'll go back to our paving operations. We'll start on Vista, do another 2 layer chip seal there, do have a few holes to repair first, and then we'll work on Plat 21 and then move to Plat 5. And that will leave us seeing where we are budget-wise with what's left over there and where we can continue on. But that's our plan, to rehab the roads as soon as we can this spring. Moving on from roads, the guys got our second large flow meter installed at Level 3 the other day, and they'll try to get the one over here at Airstrip this week as well. And then we're still waiting for the other 2 meters, one for Green Canyon, one for Prater. We're waiting on our residential meters. They should have shipped, and we're hoping to be here by Thursday, or we'll be able to pick them up by Thursday, hopefully. So next week, if all goes well, we can start on that project. And our plan there is to do some smaller sections and get some of the ground and install the software and make sure everything reads. And Zach has planned to go plat by plat. He's mapped them all out, but we'll start with the smaller ones and work through that. So you guys can roughly do, a 2-man crew can do about 20 a day. So if we have 2 2-man crews, we can do about 40 a day, and we'll see how that goes once we get started. So I think we sent this out in an update where we are. The EPA is gonna do another sanitary survey. That's about every 3 years. It's common. It's just on the schedule for us to do, so the water department's preparing for that, just making sure everything's where it needs to be. But basically, they give us a call, and within a week and a half, they show up to do that survey and just kind of go through the water system in a day with us. And we did, after getting paperwork from the state, from DEQ about the well over there, that was going to take some time and effort before they were going to update our permit on what that well can do. After I sent some emails back on what we were going to work on, they just sent one back saying, hey, go ahead and do it. Here's the paperwork. And Ryan with Forest Green is working on completing all that for us, because it's a lot of stuff that I can't fill out because I don't don't quite understand it, needs an engineer to do it, but he's working on that for us, so it's underway.
So that's taking us to up to 1,000 gallons a minute, is that right?
Yeah, it's 640 acre foot a year, so whatever
Whatever
that,
that
yeah,
is.
roughly 1,000 gallons a minute is what we can pump out there. And we, just yesterday, we looked at another grant that we're gonna work on for some water stuff. It's been ideal world, what we'd like to do, and what we discussed, and Scott was a big part of preparing numbers on this before we even saw this grant, but what it is for is just to automate water systems and to be more efficient. So we were looking at, we've got 21 pressure relief valves, and this grant is a matching grant up to $125,000, but it would help us be able to automate our PRVs so that they are part of SCADA and on our SCADA system. So we're going to start working on that. That's due in June. And of course, you never know if you get a grant or not, but you don't get them if you don't try. So we're going to put some time and effort into that and see if we can make that upgrade. So, any questions on anything I've gone over? Anything else? That's what I got for an update.
The permit, or is that the permit that Ryan's working on for the 1,000 gallons permitted?
Yeah.
So it would actually give us the permitting to do it, is the paperwork that he's filling out?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we made a request to up the output for the well. So,
okay. So we haven't been permitted to do it yet? No,
We got
this
issued
is what
the
we're
permit.
getting, right?
Yeah, we got the
Is permit?
paperwork that they will allow us to do that. We submitted it probably 9 months ago.
Uh-huh.
They responded with, hey, you guys, there were things that hadn't been done since 2009 that they identified that I was unaware of. I told them we'd work on it, and then they just sent us the paperwork saying, go ahead and we can.
Request the permit now? Or-
We have to do the work and fill out the permit and send it back in, and
Okay.
then it's finalized. So
Okay.
it's kind of a lengthy process. But
Yeah. And then as far as the meters that were put in, are those the ones that need to be measured to the pipe that it was connected into, or what wound up, or did we resolve that in-house, or did we have to have somebody? At our last workshop, they told us that the meters had to be fitted to a certain pipe.
yeah, so we purchased a tool,
Oh,
and it's basically like a large pipe cutter. You put it on the pipe and spin it around and tighten it up every so often, but the guys cut that and were able to put the new meter in.
okay.
So we got 2 of the large meters in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got one at Fox Run and at
Well, 3.
Well 3.
So
So,
we did talk about we were getting a quote from Mountain West Water Works to possibly help us with the installation, which I think is what we brought up last time. And it came in really high, like over $20,000. And then the tool was significantly like less than that, like $1,000. And so with that, the guys can do, well, they've been moving out on it, so.
yeah. And it's lucky we have a master electrician that's worked on all those kind of things, because it's a little technical on the programming, but Scott's been great to get those things up and running for us.
So on the PRV grant, we authorized in the budget $75K to spend this year. We're not gonna spend that until we hear about the grant, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna spend any of that 75,000. Reason being, Jordan had prepared that, and I don't see the need on what he was saying. We've got little parts and pieces we're replacing, but we're not gonna spend $75,000 on it.
Okay.
So that money should just go back into the water fund.
Well, we'll just, we put it 0 and
Yeah.
and it disappears. It's just not a spend.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Any other questions for Town Administrator Aiken? Okay, all right, we'll move on to the financial update. Ms. Mason?
Okay, on the general side budget, we received 69% of revenue. We've spent 61% of the expenses. On the water side, we've received 77% of the revenue, and we've spent 64% of the expenses. One side thing is, last month I was on vacation during the meeting, And when Wade did the financial report, he sort of questioned the Mid Valley Fire District payment. And I forwarded the mayor the information when I returned so that she could understand it, and it didn't go out to the rest of the council, I don't think.
No, it did not.
So, the way the payment is figured, on July 1st, the assessor sends Mid Valley Fire the assessed value of the property of the ranch. That is what the payment is based on. It's not off the payments that we received, it's based on the assessed value of the ranch. So they take that, that's how they figure the 3 mills that we have to pay them. So we make 4 equal payments during the fiscal year of 3% of the assessed value. The other part of that payment, that's twice a year, is they take a percentage of our motor vehicle tax also. So that's why there was like a discrepancy, like in what the payment was, because, you know, some people may have thought it was based on the money that we received, the payments. It is, that's not how they figure it. It is the assessed value.
So the assessed value is done, like, your assessed value for this year, you don't really pay it till the next year. Okay,
Right,
so
yeah.
it's always a year kind of in advance. Now, you can prepay your taxes, but that's why we were looking at it going, well, we expect a drop because it's, the property tax
25%.
payments came, yeah, the exemption came through. So that will not be this year, it will be in the next year. Is the best we can calculate at this time.
So the property values on the ranch, those people that qualify for the 25% will be taken into consideration in July 1, 2026.
Yes.
Okay.
And then as far as the vehicular tax that they take, I wasn't under the impression it was a percentage. I thought it was the full amount that they get. Do they get just a percentage?
They only get a percentage of that also.
Do you know how much it is?
It's like the 3 mills. You take the number that they receive.
Oh,
and
from
three
three
mills.
mills.
it's divided by 8, and then it's multiplied by the 3 mills.
Okay, oh, sorry, I understand that.
And that I've also tried to work out. I've called Lincoln County about us not getting all the money because some people on the ranch are paying.
Mhm.
So I talked to Lincoln County and I've talked to Afton, and they are supposed to be questioning every time somebody walks into the Afton office to renew their place and they give 83127. They have to start asking if they're staying in Star Valley Ranch to get that straightened out so we get the money that we're supposed to instead of getting our money.
So I'm gonna try it in the month of April, because all 3 of my vehicles are gonna be
Yeah.
registered. I'm gonna go down there and see if
You get
they
asked.
ask. If they don't, I will politely say, you didn't ask. But again, if every resident knew, I mean, hopefully we can get a big change there. So, bring in some more
Do
revenue.
we have any idea what percentage we're,
Well, you could take
Missing
the
out
amount
on?
we're getting and you have no idea how much that
Right.
represents. Is it
Yeah.
50%? Is it
Okay.
70%? So I'm gonna be conservative in an estimate in the budget, just as a placeholder. It'll go up a little bit, but hopefully
Right.
we can go up more.
okay,
So, okay.
right. Anything else?
He wants to go over his financial report.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Anything
Okay.
for Loretta before Councilman Bitter starts? No, okay.
All right, so on the general fund side, the year-to-date versus budget, our revenue is 1.9 million, or lower than budget by 51K. That 51K is made up basically of the fifth penny reduction or decrease that below the budget that we had put in there. And direct distributions are down. Now, we did just get the comment that distributions are gonna go up next year, so we're building in a little cushion for next year as well. On the expense side for general fund, 1.6 million. It was basically just higher than budget by 11K, but that was due to the higher ambulance fee of 33K that was timing. In the budget, it's supposed to be paid a month later. So, otherwise, we would have been favorable on the expense side year to date. On the capital side, we are 665,000 spent, and so that's basically 88K lower than what we had budgeted. Cash reserves are sitting at 1.9 million, which is 300,000 higher than budgeted. So due to the timing of the CapEx. Water fund, we are at revenue of 1.4 million, which is $200,000 higher Due to the grant money that we received, 175. So it kind of, well, we didn't know that that was coming in, so that's really, otherwise we would be just barely better than budget. And that was due to the tap-ons, the higher amount of tap-ons that we had. Expenses are at 1.2 million versus budget that was 45K lower, so we're overspending there by 45K. Most of that is due to higher water supplies. And that was basically 43K above budget year to date. Capital spending is 1.5 million or 750,000 lower than budget. That's due to the timing of the payments on the meters and on the Prater Canyon delivery line. And cash reserves for water is sitting at 2.4 million or $550,000 higher than what we had budgeted. So right now revenues for the total ranch is 3.4 million, $137,000 higher than budget. Total expenses are 2.8 million, or $56,000 higher than budget. CapEx is 2.2 million spent, which is $800,000 lower than budget. So really at this point in time, we felt like we were gonna be spending about 3 million at this point. So the reserves are gonna be better by that same $800,000, and which puts the reserves cash at 4.3 million combined. So that's the summary. No surprises other than the fire the higher payment than we budgeted, because we lowered it a little bit, so.
Okay, any questions for Councilman Bitter on the financial reporting package?
And if you ever look through there and you see something that, just let us know, because we'll take a look into it.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item in the budget, or I'm sorry, on the agenda is the 26-27 town budget process update.
Okay, with the closing of February, we've loaded the model with all the actuals through February, and the model has been built. Loretta and I sat down last week and went through some highlight items just to make sure we understood what was happening and what was changes. We've built into the budget requests at this point in time. So anybody that has requested something, we have put it in there. It's not approved or anything like that. It's a placeholder so that everybody has visibility on it. So we're gonna meet tomorrow and finish up the capital and the head count and salary and fringes. And then I will distribute that out to the council. I will also distribute it to the FAB for their review. And we hope to get comments back before our workshop, comments that we can talk about in the workshop. But the FAB, I've asked them to give me their information because they meet that morning before we meet in our next workshop. So we'll be ready to have that conversation. But I will send it out on, let's say next Monday.
Okay.
You'll get it next Monday. And just let Loretta and I know if you've got questions, or even Trevor, because we'll be intimately familiar with everything by next week, won't we? Yes.
So are we discussing it like at the next workshop to determine what's really gonna be on there, what's not?
Correct, because we don't want to put in reading one, like everybody puts in their wish list. It's just the way budgets usually work, right? So we've got to decide on capital, well, which ones do we really need to do, which ones don't we do? Again, like the reserve request from water, to try to create a reserve each year that we can kind of plan for instance, a new tank, something like that. That's what we want to discuss on that night and decide, are we putting it in, or are we gonna take it out for reading one? So hopefully when you get the file and you're going through line items, you'll flag the things that don't look right to you, and we'll have to chat about it. So I think that the next workshop, I don't want to make it a 2-hour episode, so please review it ahead of time, and you'll have all the salary information, you'll have general fund, water fund, all laid out with all the capital down at the bottom, so you'll be able to see it. It'll be that simple of a schedule. Really 3, maybe 4 tabs, okay? But and then, so for the first reading, I can turn that around after the workshop. We can turn it around quickly, distribute it out for the first reading in the format that needs to go out to the residents and be ready to go.
So how will we know at that time how it's all prioritized and everything? Because normally we have budget discussions starting in like February and we haven't had any, so I'm just trying to determine how we're discussing that to know the prior, like, how do I know how important something is compared to something else
Well-
on your list? Because I know my budget list was expensive, so I know that. do you know what I mean?
Realizing, yes.
So it, like, compared to somebody else's list that's gonna be entered in there, how do I know if it's gonna be
Based on
priority?
budget, it's in a priority.
Well, there's different categories. So if it's general spend, there is going to be a column that says what it was last year versus this year, and it'll show an increase or a decrease over last year's spend, basically. So those items, if they have a big increase, we're gonna have to question those, because, but nobody has given us detail in the general fund, except for instance, yourself, that gave us Lucky's. Whether the NRB comes in and says, we haven't received anything like that from what I've seen.
I got trails yesterday from Craig.
Okay,
but
so that's
they're
what we'll
supposed to
review
give me
tomorrow.
The rest of it this afternoon.
But again, priority-wise,
Well, yeah, for public works and such, like,
well, the capital list, the big capital items, we're gonna prioritize those tomorrow in a list.
okay,
An
from top
initial
to
cut.
bottom. Yes.
And then at the next work session, I think, is when you get a chance to throw darts at that, as far as
Okay.
rearranging or things that might be missing.
because like on the list that I wrote, I just put in like a general half a mile to repair potholes is this much, but
Yes.
it's not just a half a mile, it's like
Well, I know, and that's
5
why
different spaces.
I've got yours in there for our discussion
Okay.
tomorrow to just, how do we,
Prioritize which roads are gonna be done and
Yes.
such, okay. Because that would
Because-
determine how I vote on it.
because there is going to be a placeholder that Trevor has already put in for chip seal, and he's put a $500,000 budget in there. So again, we have to identify which roads those are specifically, and this is all exclusive of whether we get the grant or not. This is, if the grant doesn't come through, we're still gonna spend that $500,000.
Oh, yeah,
You get
Yeah.
it? So, okay. And so laying that out that way, it may be included in one of his projects.
okay.
Your, for instance, pothole, what was the key word you used? Pothole remediation? No,
Yeah,
not-
I think mitigation maybe, but yeah, it's
something
just
like
to
that, yeah.
resolve them.
But again, if it's double counted, if he's already taken it into account, then Trevor can tell us what that represents as far as, how much
Okay,
how much road
okay.
coverage we've got.
Sorry, we just usually have discussions up to this point in other towns.
I don't know how you can have it without having more actuals, but,
Well, that's why,
We didn't
like,
last
why
year.
are we doing this now?
well, we
No,
didn't
we did
last year.
last year, actually, we met, oh, you may not have been there, but.
Because we didn't do a budget until I came on, and that was the first
We did that
one.
goal-setting meeting.
I think that was what I was talking
Okay.
about, that kind of at least helped us like prioritize or know the importance from public works and stuff too, but,
Ah, that was the one I was out of town.
yeah.
Yes, okay. But again, and there's the projects will show carryover, that we haven't spent all the money on, that we still are spending money that will carry over into the year. And that's, the important part about that is so that we can get the real cash balances each month, so we can see what those cash balances are doing or estimated to be. Because we don't want to get too low in our reserves, but we
No.
want to make sure that we've got the timing right.
And when we get to the end of this budget year, and I understand there will be some carryover, but, if there are things that we haven't spent, like that $75,000 we talked about for the
The PRV.
PRV, then those monies to me ought to go back into reserves or
They do.
wherever they were from, okay?
Because basically, because it never started, we canceled the project.
Yeah.
Becomes an unauthorized.
And then to address what you brought up, Councilman Merrill, I think that if after the work session at the end of the month, that we find that we still have a lot of debate going on about what we think the priority list is or should be as far as capital spends, that we might want to think about having an extra special
That's fine.
budget session to winnow through that before we get to like our next work session, do something separate, a breakout.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the first reading, we had a lot of changes between the first reading and the second reading last year, but the third reading, we had very little.
right.
So that's kind of what we're aiming for this year, so.
Okay.
But if you hear of anything between now and that workshop, you know, just send it to me. Kirsten sent me a list and, you know, we've incorporated it in. So if you know of any of the other boards or committees that are looking for something, let's put it in. So we can at least have a discussion on it. Okay?
Okay, and then, just, you're probably not gonna get anything from me, because I think that we spent, well, we at least budgeted to spend quite a bit this year with the meters, large meters, residential meters, the roads. So I would not see us doing as many big capital projects in the next budget necessarily. I feel like it's gonna be more of a, I don't know, maintain budget, rehab budget for the roads.
Roads.
You know, and continue to make progress on the roads, but I don't see us laying out, you know, $500,000 to line water tanks or buy meters kind of thing. But I guess we'll see where that falls once we get the capital.
Yeah, I
list.
wouldn't tell you what's in there because
want it
again,
to
we
be a
have to
surprise?
prioritize it tomorrow, high, low, medium, and usually the low and the medium don't make the
Right.
grade. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Councilman Bitter? No? Okay. Okay, Mr. Kazir, building official report, please,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, well, not a lot of changes since the last report, but we have maybe permitted 2 new permits this year, as far as residential. Yeah, we're still waiting on a lot of paperwork, so it's a little bit off to a slow start. But we've been working on a lot of other things. We did complete the new offices in the Water Bay over there for the, Water Bay next to where we used to have the old lab. So that got completed last month, so that's moving forward. We've been working on a lot of the water controls, trying to work out the details with the programming. We've had a couple hiccups with, communication stuff, but we're working through that, trying to put in some new fail-safes to monitor the water tanks a little more closely. And me and Jamie have been working on the paperwork and the details for the septic systems. I want to get moving forward on the septic stuff so we can start taking that over hopefully by next month. By April 15th, I'd like to have everything in place. She's been a big help on the septics, so we're getting down to the final details of getting that pretty well worked out. So hopefully we'll get that online next month for sure. But other than that, not a whole lot of changes, other than, we've been trying to get through these valves. That's what I've been working on, focusing on lately, is trying to get the valves, which we'll have the third one hopefully up this week. And then I think we'll be waiting on parts after that. Other than that, that's all I got this meeting. So anybody got any questions?
Any questions from the council?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned in the report you sent in, the cost for inspecting sewer systems
Yes.
and going through it. What do you anticipate that cost is gonna be?
Well, that's why I was trying to go in a little bit more cost, because if, if the clay is there, on the soil sample, I mean, we may be going there again to do, extra trips on the inspection. So that's what we gotta get dialed in as a final cost. I know we kind of left it around $350 for a permit, and I still think that's a little bit low.
Okay, because my question is, you said for next month, so do we need to do a resolution to change the cost of the permit?
That's what we're trying to work out the final details on.
Okay.
So I'd like to get, hopefully get that all worked out so we can move forward with that, because, county starts back up April 15th. We start back up April 15th for the water meters, so it's a good timeline to try to get everything in place so we can move forward with that.
Can I ask a quick question though regarding that? Do we have to have the ordinance in place with everything before we can move forward with the permitting of septics? Because I wasn't quite sure on that.
No,
I don't think so.
no, you won't,
Okay.
what you're gonna have to do though is do a resolution, because we're changing the fees by resolution.
If we change the fees, then
Yeah,
we
if
want
that
to do
changes.
that, yeah. And I know that as part of what you guys are working on, there's gonna be some recommended ordinance changes as well. Like, for instance, currently our ordinances are pretty sparse when it comes to what our septic requirements
Very
are. I
loose.
mean, we changed it so that it says enhanced septics are required, but we didn't really add anything else. We didn't put in there,
What's
like the
enhanced?
county has basically a season where you can install them, right? From April to November, and after that you can't.
Correct.
So we should better define in our code, since we're gonna take that over, some of those specifics. So that's what the staff is gonna send
And the
out to
type
us.
of system too, right?
Yeah, the county's pushing the Presby. The enhanced usually comes into play if there's high clay content. So that's the most expensive system that's out there. But if you go with enhanced, usually that requires engineering.
Okay.
So that's,
Which is probably recommended
Yeah,
up
under
here
you.
in some of parts of town or
Some
no?
parts.
that's
because of
where,
soils.
that's where, we may have to, make sure we have engineering. Anytime there's a, a situation where it's gonna require the enhanced. So, I mean, still, most people are putting in the basic standard septics, so. But yeah, so hopefully we can get this worked out so we can get
But that should have changed last year, because that ordinance went in for the enhanced, right?
As far as I know, I haven't seen any changes, other than the county's pushing the Presby.
No, our ordinance
Oh, our
was
ordinance,
changed to
yes.
say enhanced
Yes,
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when that went in, we shouldn't have been seeing any more standard septic tanks in, right?
Well, we haven't had any, no.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's been winter.
Yeah,
So those-
up until now, the county's handled all those,
Yeah.
That's,
so that's kind of where we're at on that. So,
Any questions for Scott?
I had a question about the water bay offices, so are they gonna use that, I didn't know, for the new, like, water testing? Or like, that's the location of it? Or was the purpose to those exactly?
well, what we did, basically, we had those two offices for, the other two were pretty small, so.
Yeah.
The main thing is so we can function, watch the screens on the water system. So we
Okay.
moved the big TV from downstairs,
Mhm.
my office over there. So we're just trying to make sure we're monitoring, the SCADA over there. So it's giving them a little bit more room for, for them to operate, the water systems over there.
So are they gonna do the testing in there too, or are they still gonna keep it in that smaller area in the back?
That's testing will stay in the small area.
Yeah.
We don't, that's only in-house testing, it's not anything certified, it's
Sure.
just for our knowledge. But,
Yeah, okay.
They did clear up some stuff out of that room though,
Mhm.
because we're able to move it, so there's more
More
room for the
space
testing.
around, okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Scott.
You bet.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Mountain Estates annexation update. Don't have a whole lot of update. I'll tell you a couple things. There's some updates. We have some draft cost update or estimates now. And there's some updates to the draft revenue and then also a draft comparison. So I'm gonna send that information out to the council later today, hopefully. If not today, it'll be tomorrow, and then also provide that to, for the town website. Also, we're expecting to get a draft annexation agreement from our special counsel by tomorrow. So fingers crossed on that.
let's go.
As soon as we get that, we'll send that out to the council to take a look at too. And again, that's, just something that we're having ready in case we need it, and rather than having to draft it all at the last minute. So, anything else, Trevor, on the annexation?
No, that's really, we're waiting for our attorney, so I'll keep on him.
Yeah. Does anyone have questions about anything on the annexation? Councilman Roll, I think you had asked for what the town has spent so far on the annexation, and I know Loretta's been pulling that information together, just tracking it really. So,
All we've received are bills from Forest Grid, we don't have any from the new attorney yet.
Right, no, attorney bills.
Well,
The hard part is we lump it together in our financials, meaning in the line, like engineering or attorney. Maybe if, it'd be nice to keep that so that we know what that separation number is in case.
We're gonna need it anyway.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what Loretta's been doing.
I wonder if
watching
we should have a
those
separate line in
bills
there,
as
though.
they come in, so.
But if he reimburses us, then it's just gonna come right back off that.
Well, I know, it would come to zero, but at least you know
How much
separated
she's
what
gotta
it is.
reimburse us.
So I guess I was also asking for all the other costs that we had from the initial, like back last year, at the beginning of the year, we had costs with our engineer and we had costs with our attorney before, and then employee costs and such that we're paying into all this. I think it's a number that we should be aware of, even if it's because we may annex again someday. But I think we should be tracking that. I think that's the information I was actually requesting.
So we can certainly pull last year's attorney and Forest Grid information, but on the tracking employee, like, hours and time, I mean, that's, to me, anything to do with an annexation or anything for that matter is part of their job, like, part of doing business. So I don't know why we would segregate it out. We're not,
Well, I think it's important for our constituents to see. I mean, they're already feeling that a lot of time and energy has been put forth, so I've had questions regarding the cost to the town as well. So I think it is important for us to actually keep that and just have an idea. I mean, we do that with other things that we pay for, so I don't
But
think.
we don't have a time card system that tracks hours, meaning like
Well, I guess
putting in
it's
an hour
also-
for this, putting in an hour for that,
we
right?
don't have like billing codes.
Yeah, billing codes, yeah.
Well, we have billing accounts that we code under, so I think that that was kind of the idea. I thought that we could at least see and reflect how much time and
Now, their wages
money
hit
is being put
wages.
in.
I don't think there's a code under the payroll.
No.
No, I'm saying that there's accounts that we take out, so there's roads and there's water.
Right, but we can't put their salary into those
No,
accounts.
I'm aware of that. I guess my question is, like, we should at least know an amount of man-hours that are being put forth to this, and
Hmm.
Fine.
We track it.
Yeah, it'd have to be manual.
because this is definitely a project, I feel like, at this point.
Are we gonna be reimbursed no matter what, annexation or not, for the costs, the expenses? Is that
We were told we
outlined
were.
or?
I don't know how to, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. It's not,
It's something we've asked the special counsel, because and by statute, it says that we can
Request.
recoup costs from a developer for the cost of preparing the annexation report, and the annexation. It doesn't say in the statute that that is dependent on whether you approve an annexation or not. So in my mind, we should be able to. It's just the
Yeah.
mechanics of doing it, so we want to talk to the attorney about, you know, we're tracking these costs, and, you know, once we get to a decision point, one way or the other, there should be a bill issued, in my opinion, so, but,
I believe we will, I just don't want to be on the record saying 100%
Yeah.
yes, and that I'm wrong, but that's what our intention is, and that's
Yeah.
what we're preparing for.
Yeah.
But I don't want to mislead anybody.
anything else on the annexation?
I don't know if this is just something to be noted, because I've seen a lot of the social media, like, I think a lot of people think that we're all on board, instead of being like, we're just collecting evidence and trying to understand what the costs are gonna be of the annexation, rather than, as far as I know, not one person at this table has voted a yes or a no on the annexation, and I just don't know if we're doing a poor job of communicating where we are with that, and it's, because it has been a pretty positive in the public eye, like, I don't wanna say it's been positive, I'm saying like,
We've been
people
trying
have
to
been
get the
very
info out.
polite in here.
Yes.
Everybody's been positive, like, we haven't had pitchforks coming at us,
Right,
but
not yet.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
probably coming. But I just want it to be like noted that none of us have voted, and
That's right.
That's-
we're just collecting information at this point.
It's the first thing I always say is, we haven't voted on it, we don't know how anybody feels about it, we're collecting information.
Haven't seen the numbers yet.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, there's in my mind, there's positives and negatives, so. but,
Yeah, it's,
Nobody's made a decision yet. So if there's folks saying online that that's not the case, then they're mistaken, and they shouldn't be doing that, but that's what happens on social media. So I would just encourage the council to, be forthright with everyone, that we're looking at everything, and no one's made a decision yet. And, that's likely happening at the end of next month, though, so we can all
yeah.
get across this hurdle one way or the other.
And then maybe just to be clear, to communicate when, I know people, because people are like, well, why can't, I mean, they can come to our council meeting for sure. Is there gonna be an opportunity for the public to voice their opinion, and is that the April meeting? And maybe, I don't wanna say that we wanna bring in pitchforks, but I want people to be very aware of what's going on and when that they can actually state their opinion.
Yep.
There will be a public meeting, it's required.
Yeah, there's a public meeting, the one required by statute in front of this body, which we will do on, right now it's planned for April 30th, but there's also a public hearing for the planning commission on April 8th. Is that date? No, that's not right. That date's, maybe it's
It's
the
closer to
15th.
the 20th.
Yeah, hold on.
No.
April, oh, it is the 8th, it is the 8th, sorry, it's April 8th. Which they can also do, and we're also looking at doing Zoom for both of those meetings, because obviously we know some of our residents probably won't be back yet, but they may want to make public comment. So we're working to open it up that way as well, so it'll be streaming on YouTube like it usually is, but if we can do the Zoom meeting, the virtual meeting, then, people can raise their hand to make a public comment when we get to that point too.
So April 8th is the actual public meeting as well?
For the planning commission.
For the
Yes.
planning commission.
Yeah,
Not for ours
No.
then?
no.
Okay.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, we put that new timeline on the website just yesterday,
Okay.
so apologies. Okay, anything else on? No. Great. All right, moving on to board reports. Finance advisory, I don't know, have they met?
We haven't met.
Yes.
And Wade, I would just ask, like, when you're putting people, or like sending them all these emails and such, if you could CC me on them, since I'm the
Okay.
liaison. So
Really, it's only, I send one email
Oh,
to
no,
the
I'm
file.
talking about like when you start doing the budget emails,
Oh, yeah,
so that
yes.
I can see.
I'll
the
check and make sure
correspondence.
you're on there.
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on finance advisory for now? No? Oh, no, sorry, I keep looking up with her.
Oh, so, yeah, no, you're fine. No, they haven't met yet.
Okay.
It's at
Later
the
this
end
month,
of
right?
this
Okay.
month.
They're
Yeah.
meeting on the
Before.
before our next before the next workshop, that same day.
I'm sure it's on the
I
calendar.
think it's like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was 3
I
o'clock.
think it was 3 is what they
Yeah.
determined,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 3 PM on the 24th, okay. All right, thank you. Natural resources.
They're awesome. They're so well.
They run so smooth.
They're so great. No, they are, they have like events, well, our next meeting is March 19th. They're just kind of getting ahead of the weed situation this summer. They're trying to, instead of getting delayed. Alyssa's gonna be a huge help. I feel like she's gonna be a great resource for natural resources. There's not really much to talk about besides how great they are.
I think on the weed thing, we've already gotten a quote from our weed sprayer vendor, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're ahead this year. Last year, we just didn't get off the starting line on that soon enough, so.
Yeah, and is that the same, what's his name?
It's Swatham, it's,
Swap, yeah,
yeah,
forget the gentleman's
Swap?
name.
yeah.
What was it? I know it's in here. Was
Yeah,
it?
Mitch Wolfley.
There you go.
Ah, there we go.
So his plan is to be here second week of June-ish, and it's a few $100s more this year because he added a different chemical, because what happened last year.
Our weeds are too aggressive here.
I was gonna say, the complaint from the NRB last year was they used the wrong weed killer,
Yep,
so we changed that, okay.
made stuff brown, but it didn't really kill it, so.
Yeah, they'll be doing, I'm sure I'll have more after this, but like they're getting their, community garden ready and talking about getting new soil and just getting ready for the summer, now that it's spring.
I know, already, right? I totally forgot to put my clock forward on Saturday, so.
Oh.
It's just like, it's here already? Okay, All right, thank you. Planning Commission, so the last meeting was on the 25th. And, just looking to see, we just went over anything new at the time for Mountain Estates annexation, which we did have Steve Crandall and the chairman of the Water Board and Mike Oltman, the chairman of the Roads Board, both came to the meeting and just, made comments, provided comments and input to the Planning Commission regarding, their thoughts and concerns about the annexation. So there was some technical difficulty recording that meeting, but you can hear it. Just don't look at the video. It's very disturbing. It's very like rainbow and freezing and just, again, technical difficulties. But if you want to listen to it, up to the point where the chairman talked to the board, it's fine. And then unfortunately the video cut off after that point. So, but it was a really good discussion. We got a lot of good input from them. And we also went through a bunch of questions that the Planning Commission had regarding the annexation, and those questions and answers are posted on the town website as well. There was a lot of questions about, if we annex the property, what happens with the existing townhomes over there if they don't meet our town code? And because we haven't inspected them, so we don't really know if they do, how would that be handled? And there's things like, they be designated as non-conforming structures and kind of be grandfathered in, that sort of thing. And so there's just a lot of good questions coming from the commission on that. There was some discussion about zoning compliance with the multifamily residential section, the townhomes. I've asked the town staff to write up their assessment of that because my understanding is, as currently laid out in the conditionally approved county plan, that townhome section is too dense. So it would not meet our code. So I asked Scott to, because he did all these calculations to figure out how many townhomes could they put there that would meet our code. So I asked him to please write it up in something like an info paper so that I can share it with the council so that we all know what that would mean. We talked about fire protection. I think everyone saw the email we got from Chief Jenkins with just some thoughts about the annexation. What did they talk about here? We had a plat amendment for plat 15, lot 20 and 21 that we're just starting to look at. And then also we're going to be, I think I might have mentioned this before, for Sunrise Mountain Estates, so the little 9 lots over here off of Hardman needs to get rezoned. It's currently planned residential development and it should be single family now at this point because it's all platted and homes are getting built. So the Planning Commission, per our ordinances, can initiate a rezone of that and go through the rezone process. So ultimately that will come before the council to approve. But that's their recommendation, is to get the zoning current with single family residential like the rest of the town. The Planning Commission, we also went over just a little bit on the master plan, still getting comments from the commission on that. And that was pretty much it on the Planning Commission. And we are meeting tomorrow at 5:30, so if anybody is interested. Any questions on the Planning Commission update? Okay, Roads Advisory Board.
Roads Advisory Board met, and they came up with 4 basic recommendations to the town. Those have been submitted. One is allocate roughly $25,000 for the purchase of a trailer for the road compactor. 2 is allocate roughly $225,000 for a medium excavator. This was heavily debated because that's $225,000 is the purchase price of a medium excavator. But we can turn in the existing small excavator that we have, so that may drop to $180,000.
What do we need that for?
To meter pits and putting trenches across the roads when we have to connect opposite sides of the roads, and that one section where we had to bring in extra excavators. This will speed that whole project, all that process up.
So what we have right now, is it big enough?
It's not big enough
Okay.
and quick enough.
Okay.
Okay, and The third one was retain lot 37, plat 22 for administrative use as a recommendation. And fourth was classify town roads as follows. Arterial roads, highest traffic routes, egress, school buses, school routes, and routes to places to work or business. Collector roads, routes that connect arterial roads to local roads. And local, that's routes that serve local neighborhoods and residents. That has already been completed, that has laid out, and there is deadlines or recommended work points on it. For example, Hardman Road is an arterial, listed as an arterial road, is asphalted, and it needs a maintenance layer due to the 2025 water project. And Hardman Road was asphalted in 2023. It's completely laid out, color-coded, with recommendations as to what needs to happen and when.
So what was that about Hardman? It needs a maintenance?
Hardman needs maintenance layer due to the 2025 water project. Go drive down Hardman Road past Middle Branch, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
But isn't that something we were going to do with the Vale in the spring if we need it?
So the road, they have a 1-year guarantee. That's standard in anything you do in construction. That's gonna hold up for a year, I'm pretty confident. But it's not gonna hold up for a significant amount of time. It's gonna need maintenance. I fought that as hard as I could on that, but, you know, Forrest Group said you don't have anything, you can't withhold payment. They said it's good, and if it lasts a year, so.
So are these the costs that they want in the budget that you're talking about?
The two costs, yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
The excavator and that?
and
Okay.
the trailer.
The, on Hardman, is that what you meant? Sorry.
No,
There was a trailer that.
no, the only two
and the-
costs
Excavator.
are the trailer and the excavator.
Okay.
Those two.
The rest is, here's the list of things that need to be done on the roads. Now it becomes part of road maintenance, and it's the beginning point to decide what ends up happening if we get the grant or if we don't get the grant.
Yeah.
For example, arterial roads, Vista East and Vista West, are gonna be a high priority. There's no two ways around it.
Is there, from that list that was put together, this sounds like this is like current as of today based on conditions, because I know we have our road master plan that's a couple years old now almost. But were there any significant changes from classification of roads?
North Forest and Cedar is one, because evidently we found out that we can bring Cedar down, and in that dead section that was on Wickles land, we can pave that as well. So we can come down Cedar, go pave through there, come over on East Forest, and then go down North Forest. So that's an exterior exit route.
That way you
For
have two
emergencies.
exits.
Yeah.
Are you talking about chip seal though, right? Or are you?
Well, some of it has to be
It's-
asphalt because of the steepness.
Okay, but
Yeah.
the like.
Yes, it's a
what was
combination.
as of right now.
They're all combinations. Everything has been laid out based upon the build grant that says, here's the section of X.
Yeah.
Let's see, let's use North Forest. The top section of North Forest has got to be asphalt. It's too steep. The lower section can be chip seal. East Forest, there's that section where it comes up the hill, that's got to be asphalt.
So the things that they wanted to kind of relabel some of these roads different than the road study, can that be sent out so we can see it?
Yeah,
Okay. And then which plat, or was it a lot that they were talking about?
the lot we bought,
The one on.
The one down the hill.
the one
They
we
want to keep it?
want to keep it for maintenance use, and particularly if we get the road grants, that's an ideal spot for staging on a lot of the roads on the north end.
Okay. So at one point, we were discussing putting something there for our public works.
Yeah.
But was it at the expense?
The decision that we ended up coming up with from this council at some point was, do we keep the lot and use it for maintenance, or do we try and sell it?
Yeah. So it,
And they're recommending that we keep the lot and then explore what we can do with it for public works.
okay. I think I'd rather explore what we can do and then determine if we're gonna keep it. Just so that it's, like, as a council, we're deciding.
Well, you've only really got two choices, sell it or keep it.
No, I understand, but if we're not going to utilize it by keeping it, that's what I'm saying. So
Well,
if Public Works had some
we've put a
idea-
placeholder in the budget for a capital
Okay,
item for East Forest development.
okay.
I thought there were
Trevor
neighbors.
submitted that to
I
us.
thought there are people that don't want something up there.
Yeah, so we would have to really decide as a council if that's what we want to do out there.
Well, and
I mean, I understand like the use potentially to stage materials during road paving.
Is that what you were
That may
putting out
mean,
there?
that's,
Well, it's
That's one.
For
also,
development?
it's also an ideal spot to stage anything for the north end of the
No,
town.
I'm
A
not,
plow.
Now,
yeah.
take into consideration that you can do some amazing things with the way it's landscaped, laid out, and where stuff's put. So it can be hidden, or it can be look horrible, or it can look very nice.
Or it can just be a royal pain because it's.
Yep, agreed.
I'm like,
No-
I'm not for
no
it.
disagreement.
If we kind of had an idea of what we
Yeah.
wanted
Yep.
to do there and felt like
That's-
it would be interesting.
That's down the road.
Yeah. Well,
That'll help
we'll be
determine
prepared to have that conversation on, because it's in there and we need a description, if it stays in there after tomorrow. But we'll have a description of what options could be for that.
Yeah.
Or that, not a facility, it'd be maybe a pavilion type to park some vehicles under, like a plow or two.
So
Or-
that should probably be left in there for the council all to discuss
Mhm.
at time.
Well,
It is.
it's in there. I want him to be able to say what he wants to bring to the council,
Okay.
Yeah,
because he's the
this,
That's, I
administrator,
think,
so.
what I'm saying, like,
Yes.
no, and I understand
Yeah.
that, it's just, like, usually the budget is brought forth and we determine as a group what is
Yeah.
gonna be
Yep.
excluded and included.
this is just a recommendation from the roads board,
Yeah.
okay?
I know the roads board is fairly new, with new people. There's a lot of conversation online about how we're not able to take care of the roads. Like, I mean, somebody said, oh, the guy that knows what he's doing quit, which I know that's not true. So are the roads advisory board and the public works, like, are we all on the same page? Are we confident that, and this doesn't have to be answered today, but like the excavator, we've spent a lot of money on this year on roads and chip sealing and changing things. Is it going to work? And like, I feel like every time we sit down, not every time, but more expenses into roads, which is important. Our roads are important, so I have no problem helping make those better. But I feel like a lot of our council meetings, we walk away from like, yeah, we're so excited about the roads, and then it's just,
Any more equipment. We will have to purchase oil for the chip sealing and the chips, two different types of chips.
an employee-wise,
We have the employees to do
I think some of, maybe what will help answer, you know, what's gonna happen going forward, or, you know, see some of these great ideas to fruition will also be helped by this plan that Trevor and Zach have been working on to kind of lay out, here's the schedule of what we're gonna accomplish on the roads in 2026, or for, you know, the work season such as it is from April to November. So,
yeah, just as long as the board and
Yeah.
the employees are all on the same page.
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So as far as an excavator, how often do we use the excavator we have? Quite a bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we have, for like permits and different things for the homes that we have going in the next, like water meters and stuff that need to be put in this summer? Do we know how many of them are going across the road for this summer at least?
No, because we've only got 2 building permits so far this year.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But we're getting a
Right.
ton of calls.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, and I know it's early. Sometimes I feel like we get them early and sometimes later, but,
Yeah.
okay. That information would probably be helpful for me to determine if I'm going to actually put it in this budget. I know, like, definitely we probably eventually need it. I just don't know if we need it right now, compared to other things we might need. Would be my only question, but we can discuss it obviously after.
That begs the question, do we have a list of permitted homes that have not put in their meter pits yet, or the tap-ons? They're not done yet, is
I
what-
don't-
they're in phase, right?
Yeah, I'd have to ask Scott. We did almost 40 meter pits last year.
I know, so I'm curious,
So-
what is that, is there 10 that have, that's under construction but haven't had that $7,500 charge yet, or?
I think we have like 2 or 3 on a list currently that didn't get in time
Okay,
before the no date.
everything else is done, so we do have a
And
few.
now, yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, that might be a little off, but not very many. There's a list of just.
So it's really the new ones coming in and whether they'll get to them tap-ons before.
That might be emerging information as we go through the budget process, but
Yeah.
maybe at the end of the day, it just doesn't add up to be enough to do it in this budget. Who
And
knows?
remember, you've got those residential meters to put in. So,
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not gonna need to be digging.
They don't need the deep
Yes.
ones, they don't need them in size. I think all the pits
Hopefully,
are.
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. All
I
right.
have a question. We're talking meters and stuff. A couple years ago, this is just a general question, we paid to have the $5,000, at the time it was $5,000, to have meters set, but we weren't able, the town wasn't able to get meters at that time. It was probably 2 years ago, maybe 2.5. Does the town set that meter even though no one has built on the lot or put a permit to build? But since we paid for it, and that was a feature to sell the lot, it had been paid for, does the town set that meter? Or does the town wait for a permit for a home to be put on it before they set it? So that's my question.
So you can pay for a meter pit and have it set on your vacant lot if you want. You pay the standard fee. We don't put a meter in it
Yeah, that's my
until
question.
someone's gonna actually meter water. Because
Okay.
you're wasting a meter.
So it stays with the property when it's eventually sold to someone else? Because the person that bought it never built anything on that lot? But the lot's up for sale now, so eventually someone will get that meter.
Yeah,
It's been paid for, and it's on the records that it's a paid for.
yeah.
Okay,
And this
that was
is,
my question, kind of, because they just didn't set it because there wasn't any meters here. We couldn't get meters at that time.
Okay.
It's just a general question, but, you know.
That you don't know where they're going to
Okay,
want
so
to
we'll get the roads advisory board recommendations, additional detail out to the council. We can provide that, yeah, we'll send that out. Any other questions on roads board stuff? Okay, travel and tourism.
Okay, we meet, our next meeting is March 25th, will be my first meeting attending, and we'll go through some applications. And they have, for those that haven't seen the logos that they've come up with, I know the mayor and Taylor, you've seen them, right? I don't know if you guys, I know it's really small on my phone, have you guys seen these logos? Haven't
This is
seen them?
for like, you know,
I'll
they're
send
looking at
this.
things for apparel and hats and whatever.
I'll send it to you,
Yeah.
and just so you can see them. Oh, sorry. But there's 4 options kind of thing, depending upon the merchandise or the giveaways, but they're really good. I
So
mean,
they're changing the logo, they're not gonna use the town.
no, they're gonna make it simpler so that they can put them on a t-shirt or whatever.
Okay,
Yep, so, but I'll send that to you guys right now, so everybody has it.
thank you.
Okay. And, yeah, that's it. So we'll be meeting this month.
Okay. All right, so for the water board, they met
Coins.
on the 26th.
Design for the coins for the 250th.
Yeah, if they want to recommend doing anything with that. But
Yeah, that's what, it'll be an agenda item for the 25th, so we'll
What
see.
day is your guys'?
It's the 25th at 2 o'clock.
Awesome.
Okay, water board met on the 26th of February. There was just a standing updates on, you know, SCADA, and how that installation was going, as well as the meters, the new large flow meter installations. They had a lot of questions about, well, discussion about the Mountain Estates annexation based on their review of Ryan's assessment memos that were provided to them. There's a little bit of discussion about rate setting recommendations for the upcoming budget. And then the water board also met again last week. They asked if, because they had so much discussion about Mountain Estates at their regular meeting, they asked if they could have a separate meeting with Ryan, which was held last week on Thursday the 5th. It's all recorded. It's a really good discussion if anybody wants to watch it. It kind of came together really quickly because they asked for it like on Monday, and so on Tuesday we worked it out with Ryan and we set the meeting for Thursday. It was announced to the public, but it was basically an extra water board meeting, and it was all devoted to having an opportunity to talk to the town engineer about Mountain Estates. So just a lot of good discussion, a lot of good questions. The water board's currently working on a recommendation memo for the town council on what they think the council should consider as far as the annexation. So haven't seen the final version of that yet. I know they've been kicking a draft around now since last week's meeting. So as soon as we get that, I'll make sure the council has that as well, and we'll post it on the town website as well on the annexation page. So they've been very busy on the water board. I would encourage everyone to watch that meeting if you have time. I think it was
I
about
watched it.
a little over an hour, but it was a really good discussion, so I think it was really helpful for everyone that was there. There were a number of members from the public, even though it was, kind of a late meeting. Everyone's very interested in that topic, obviously, so. Okay, any questions on water board activities? All right, let's go over the regular meeting agenda for tonight, as soon as I find it. One second. Okay, so for this evening, we have the usual items in the beginning: call to order, pledge, reconvene the meeting, adopt the agenda. We do not have any announcements or proclamations tonight, and we will have public comments, the consent agenda. Under ordinances, we have the third reading of the short-term rental ordinance, which has been updated with a bit of language on the grandfather clause. And there was one other item just to clarify how the applications were done, which the town attorney recommended. And then, because the language was kind of awkward. Then we have the third reading of the update to the administrative section for the official holidays. And second reading of the land usage. Is that for the roof overhangs?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the second reading.
yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know why I was thinking it was third reading, but, and that is all. We don't have any new ordinances. On that topic, I did want to ask the council about possible updates to the signage ordinance, to make additional clarification since this is a campaign year and campaign season. I was looking at it the other day, and I don't know how clear it is in regard to when signs can go up, when they need to come down. I think it's fairly clear on
Coming down is clear.
5 days after, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess for the council, since there's a primary and a general, is the expectation, because I know in Jackson they do it this way, so if we want to do that, that's something to consider. Do we want folks that are running for office to have to put up and take down signs twice?
When is it that you're wanting to do it? Sorry.
Oh, and the reason I'm bringing it up now is because if we were going to make any updates to that ordinance, we probably need to get started with it so that anybody running can know exactly what our rules are for signs. Right now, it just says they have to be taken down 5 days after whatever the event is. It doesn't really specify what the event is. And there's two parts that are conflicting me. One says signs can be left up for the duration of the event, and then another part says for 30 days. So if you get a chance to read it, tell me if you think it's fine the way it is, and that's great, but it just made me think maybe we need to take a look at it and make sure it's clear enough in terms of campaign signage. It's kind of,
Also in state statute a little bit, isn't it? There's like a state statute that says, like signage needs to be down by a certain point.
there may be, so we need to look at that too.
Yeah.
I know there's some things like putting it in the public right away, like Department of Transportation has some rules about that too. And our signage ordinance currently says you can't put it in town right away. So it really leaves you private property to put it. So that, I guess, in thinking about that, if you're doing, you know, for a campaign, if someone wants to put a campaign sign up, do they have to put it? Does that apply to private property, the taking it down and putting it up?
I think it does because
So-
the rest of our ordinance states you
Yeah,
can't.
so I guess
have signage.
I feel like maybe it just needs some clarification. So if anyone on the council wants to look at that and give me some thoughts, I'd appreciate it.
I think it also states that you can't have it within like, what, 100 feet or 300 feet during an actual.
of-
Yes,
Polling
it does
place.
actually, actually, no, that was something else I'm thinking of, but you're right, there's definite regulations about around
Around
town
the
hall,
polling
around the
place.
polling place, yes. Okay, so I'll make sure that's clear too. And I don't think that's spelled out in our code right now, but that's probably definitely in state statute.
Yeah, I've
so.
seen that
Okay.
there.
Okay, resolutions and motions, we don't have any tonight. We don't have any public hearing or action items, and that's it. So it's pretty straightforward this evening as far as the agenda. Okay, any questions on this evening? All right, matters from,
No, it's,
okay, matters from the mayor and council. Councilman Bitter.
yeah, you always start with me.
Yes, I don't know why.
It's alphabet, I don't know.
Go back.
Because you're on the right.
Yeah, maybe. So on that ordinance, the land usage, where we're saying, you know, the overhang is 12 inches to a maximum of 24.
Mhm.
Why do we give them such a range? Does anybody know? I know
think
Scott
that's,
left.
in the IRC, I thought it said 24.
That's the code, but
Mhm.
here, where you have so much snow and everything, when
Mhm.
you only do 12 inches and you have a window down below, that snow hits the window. My question is, should it be 18 to 24 instead of 12?
Okay, I see
Or,
what you're saying.
you see, again, 12 is really close to your
Well, it's
house.
better than none.
I get it. Yes, it is better than none. But the question, and I don't know where that came from, but I know it's the second reading tonight, because that's,
Right, okay.
so we have time, but I'm gonna pose that.
I'll ask that question, maybe we can get an answer from Scott today. If I do, I can send it to everyone, but,
Yeah, because again, if you do it too close, it's gonna crack some basement windows if the basements are above ground.
okay.
So,
So are
okay.
you
Even
thinking,
if they roll over it, because
Well,
it's
I mean, but the windows, yeah.
so are you thinking to short, or to lengthen it because of the safety of the?
Where we live in this,
It's the
it's
snow right now.
code, I get code is 12 inches, okay?
With the number of metal roofs and how fast it comes off of that,
Comes off in an avalanche, and actually, we had one window break in the above-ground
So this has
basement.
personal interest to you.
Well, I just go, I don't want anybody else to
No,
go
it's
through that, they're $500 to replace.
Yeah.
If you replace them yourself, so,
I've seen some of those ones too, like they do the curl, where if it's been that cold, like it'll slide off the metal roof, but then it hangs there and then it starts to curl.
and then it comes in.
Yeah.
So again, I would recommend a longer, or just keeping it 18
Okay,
inches.
I'll
at
ask
least.
Scott for his
Okay,
thoughts.
okay.
Anything else?
No,
Other
that's it.
Councilman Merrill? Nothing? Councilman
None.
Ellis?
We met with the Star Valley Ranch Association, Rue and I did, last week, and it was divided on what we talked about, but one of them was the water issue. The other was they're trying to maybe get some events going, and so travel and tourism might be seeing some grant options from them. And maybe I'll let Carrie or Julie know your next meeting, so you might have somebody in the audience, just so they're trying to understand grants. They wanna team up with us for like, they do a big 4th of July, they wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything, but maybe the 250th
Same thing.
collaborating. They've stopped the Santa Claus on the ranch, and then, so we'll still have our tree lighting. They just wanna be more collaborative and communicate with them. And Jamie, that might be, I know they do more of the events, but if we give a calendar, their event calendar to you, and just see, if anybody sees anything that like, oh, we should be combining efforts on, they definitely were interested in that.
So on that topic, so we talked about a community calendar. Is it, from the council's perspective, and I meant to go do some research and look at some other towns, do other towns have community calendars on their websites?
Yeah.
And if they do, is that something we want to do as well? And, you know, just,
you need to have annual events on the community calendar.
Yeah.
so I guess I don't know if we need a separate calendar or if we just want to put significant events that we are collaborating with them on our current public calendar. Do we need something separate or not?
I mean, I think it's a extension of our hand to say, like, let's add when they have 4th of July or any other events. They didn't have a ton of events.
No, there's not a
I mean,
lot of
I don't make
events.
golf tournaments necessarily.
I mean, and I think, like on our calendar, for instance, we put Arbor Day on there, you know, we put,
Yeah.
I wonder if we put the garage sale in it. I guess we
Yeah.
do probably.
I think we do, yeah.
So it probably makes sense to some of the bigger.
And they're doing an Easter egg
collaborative
hunt
things.
again this
They
year.
are.
Hey, no snow. Well, actually,
Awfully happy.
they won't be so obvious out there this
Yes,
year.
yes. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah.
Well, are
something to
you
consider.
gonna let them know when the
Yeah,
TNT
I'll let
or
them
you?
know.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Because, yeah, it's, have them send somebody.
Yeah, they were asking a lot of questions. I'm like, you guys need to look up the grant process and,
Okay.
The grant application is online.
yeah, we directed them to that.
And we also gave gave Patty Judge Frank Bell's contact info
Yeah.
if she wanted to talk to him in advance, so. Okay, anything else?
The only other questions, I'm reading through the ordinance, because I know I listened to the workshop last time. I don't see in here, is there a limitation for when somebody sells? I know you guys were asking, like, why would I, if somebody has an accessory dwelling unit, you buy it, like, if I go buy a house, and then I turn around and sell it thinking the investment property is still gonna be the same opportunity for my buyer, that's where I was coming from. Like, if I'm selling my house,
For it to convey with the
to convey,
house,
so
yeah.
is there something in here? I'm just briefly
I
reading
don't
over.
think there is. I think we added the language that Councilman Merrill provided on the grandfather, and then we had that separate discussion. I know you had another comment as well about maybe some of the language wasn't quite right. So I guess because we were kind of scrambling a little bit to get it in by the 10-day posting timeline.
Here's where it gets interesting on that one. Because one part of the grant says, yeah, it maintains and goes across. But the wording also says that once you sell it, the ordinances that are in effect at the point in time take precedence. There's another ordinance that says, you can't do that.
So we have some conflicts
Yep.
in how the language is, and so if
I thought the lawyer looked at this.
he hasn't, we haven't gotten feedback from the latest update. So my thought was, we,
Right, yeah.
because we've been kicking this third reading down the road, that we would read it tonight and see where the council ends up on it. If it doesn't pass, then that means this whole version of it dies and we have to start again. So if we opt to pass it as it's currently worded, we could still turn right around and
Change.
work on tweaking the language where there's conflicts.
Yeah.
But
Where we already put, if the structure is removed, destroyed, or substantially damaged, the grandfather use shall terminate.
mhm.
Like, I don't understand why we can't just add upon sale,
So in the second
Stand.
reading, we would do that.
No, this is the third reading tonight.
Oh, this is the third.
So we'd either have to table it and fix it again.
Well, I
It's
understand
been
why
tabled
it's
twice.
not already in there. If we're already saying why it would be terminated,
That's the problem.
why we can't just add that under, like, structural limitation upon sale,
So how does the council feel about that, conveying that carve-out, that grandfather carve-out to new owners?
To set new buyers,
Mhm.
basically.
I mean, is that,
I-
should that property be permanently carved out for that if it's not gonna be?
If, you don't know if that was a condition for them buying it, that's
Yeah.
the issue, right? You don't know if it was, but if it was, you would sure hate for them to find out after they've bought it, I can't do that
Mhm.
any longer. I mean, the old one, that's why I bought it. That's the hard part. So do you err on the side of caution, saying go ahead and grandfather, because how many of those are we gonna have?
Yeah, I don't know. We have a couple that we know are in accessory buildings or basically not in the main structure.
But it's,
Are there
Handful.
others? I mean, that's all I
Are they
know
a
of a couple.
problem? Like, that's the,
Yeah.
like, this all started
Determined they
before.
I think we determined they weren't, but I thought that we were more concerned that if somebody purchased it and
Mhm.
didn't remain living there, because right now they're more living, but I think we determined in the rest of the ordinance that that applied still, because that they had to be lawfully living there, or like seasonal even. They couldn't Airbnb both homes. I think that was
the
biggest
whole thing with
concern.
why you both had brought up the grandfathering clause. But I guess from your other kind of additional comment was that that's basically grandfather right to do that on a convey with the property. But do you know then, if it gets sold, that the people buying it are going to live in the one part and just rent out the other part? Or are they going to try and rent out both parts?
I think that's what the ordinance determined they couldn't do that, right? That you
Right.
can't have two.
That's what it says now,
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Because
Yeah.
it was trying
So
to
that would still
curtail
apply.
the entire renting out separate structures
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
things,
Yeah.
so.
And I think that would still apply, right? That they couldn't rent out both structures.
Yeah.
Right.
But they could,
Right.
if they still wish to get the grandfather permit or whatever,
Yes.
this permit, that they would be allowed to. I just feel like it kind of messes with somebody's home value if we exclude that once they sell.
So you'd like to have it specifically spelled out? Yes.
That they
Yeah.
can't, well, I just think that because we're saying that the grandfather clause would be terminated if something's
Changed.
destroyed or removed or substantially like damaged, that we should be able to add that upon a sale that they are allowed to get the permit
Carries
if
forward.
they want to. I do like that at the bottom, I think it was, that I read that they were like, if the permit, I think that's how it reads, yeah, if the permit is discontinued for a 12-month
Yes.
consecutive months,
Yes.
that it's terminated. I think that's more than fair.
Mhm.
But I think that also covers if somebody's like, well, I'm not actually going to live there and have another permit, that can go away, and then it's something the town doesn't have to deal with. So I think that can be added in there, but
Isn't there a clause in there that says upon sale, all current ordinances of the town come into effect?
I don't think it's a clause. I would assume that's part of the ordinance, that is the case, because we do want that. But that's why we're also saying in this case, it might be beneficial not
Okay,
to.
but now remember that there's another ordinance in the town that says you can't have two people living on the same property.
To a multifamily rental property, you can't have that it's gotta be a single family, unless you're the owner of it, and then you can rent out a piece of
Well,
it.
that's why we have the
You can't have two
grandfather.
rents, two renters.
Yeah, which is the point,
Yes.
right, which will
Yes.
exclude somebody from just buying it to have two
Correct.
Airbnbs on
Correct.
one property.
Now,
And we don't want that.
No.
And all of us would agree.
And I don't, is that what you're wanting, per se? You're wanting it just so that when somebody
I know,
buys
it's a
it.
can of worms is what it is.
I mean, it is, and I just personally don't think that we should be, it's people's property. So I'm trying to protect the people that I know that operate these short-term rentals and do it right for future, I mean, if all of you owned a house that had another accessory dwelling unit, your sale is going to decrease if we don't allow the next buyer to rent that property.
Yeah.
If there's a garage and you're planning to live in that house and you're planning to buy that house because of the way it is, the sale will, it's a reduced in income, like these is just people's livelihoods that like, the way that they purchase houses and, I mean, they wouldn't purchase a house here, that's just, I feel like this is going to create issues down the line with people that have short-term rentals. So I am just, for one, not even, I don't like messing with people's property.
let me complicate things a little more because I've been through this before. Define a family for me.
I don't think I need to go through all of that. My idea
How do you
of
know what a family is?
house is a house and it's your
I've
property.
lost that battle in the
But
Nether
that's where
Homeowners
that does need
Association.
to be
Yeah, I
added,
know.
that they are permitted to,
Jeez.
or that they're allowed to sell it and keep the permit.
I think that's what you're proposing to change there, and
Yeah.
I'm in support if that's what we want to do.
Because I
And that
feel-
would solve your problem, Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my issue with that is, but in, people that actually live here cannot have dwelling space in their accessory structures or detached garages currently based on our ordinances, but we would allow those uses to continue when someone comes in just to buy a property that's already grandfathered in to do it.
So you can't, sorry, say
Yeah,
that
so-
statement again.
The way our ordinances are currently written, they conflict, because in a detached garage, it kind of leaves the door open for living space, which a lot of people do have above their garages. And then, but it definitely says no dwelling space in an accessory building, so you cannot have a bedroom and living space in an accessory building.
But we permitted it. I think that's where we're at now. You've already permitted and allowed.
I think it's mostly
Yeah.
detached garages. I don't know about too many accessory buildings, but probably, yes.
The detached garage. What I'm saying is, yes, we did. we
We're
weren't given
allowing
a
it, but
permit.
there's no permit that says you can do it.
No, but we have permitted, we've
We've
given them
allowed
a permit. No, they have a permit for an Airbnb. Yes, they do.
I think we're mixing two things. I was talking about just like people that,
Oh, in general.
in general,
Right.
not people
Yeah.
doing short-term
And we
rentals.
denied somebody a bill
Yeah,
because of it.
exactly.
So no, I agree with that. That's what the point is to a grandfather clause. We're not saying everybody, we're just saying these people. And then also saying these people are allowed, the reason we're allowing it is because they live on their property and it is a good Airbnb. It's not causing or disrupting the neighbors. So to continue that, I don't think is gonna be bad for our community necessarily.
I just find it conflicting, but I understand where you're coming from, both of you.
It's grandfathering, that's why the word grandfathering in these kind of situations exists. So the question becomes, do we feel strongly to say, no, if it's going to a new buyer? And, you know, I think Katie made her point clear. Why would we mess with people like that? Because again, but it's a small number too. So if you grandfather, it's not gonna get bigger. It's going to stay and decrease
And
probably
then
over time.
There's the, however it's written here about they have to maintain their permit and it has to be
Yes.
permitted currently, et cetera.
And they may not renew their permit.
So let me ask this then. So if there is additional language that needs to go in here to address the conveying of the grandfathering use, do we want to this evening table this again and I'll ask for help to add whatever that language is for next time, or do we want to pass it and then do it again, which would mean 3 readings again? Whatever the council would like to do on this one, it's taken us a while to get to this point, so do we want to
Table it?
Hold on.
take one more crack at it?
What was the bigger part of us? There was another, sorry.
Oh, there was another, like, look for the other update, you mean?
Sorry, yes.
It
I just
was-
wanted to make sure we're not gonna miss a window, because I feel like if we were to table this and fix it, or even just, do another 3 readings, like for this part, we would be fine for the grandfather clause, because it's not really gonna come into effect again until next
Year, yes.
at the beginning of the year. But I didn't know what else we had in here. I'm fine tabling it one more month to do
To
that.
make it. So the other change was in 11304. It was just the language was awkward about permit applications are available.
So we were just cleaning it up.
Yeah, because it made it sound like, the way it was written before, it said permit applications are available at town hall and must be filled out and approved by town administrative staff. So it made it sound like the town staff is filling it out. Yeah, so it was just to kind of make it a little more clear. So that was the only other change.
So there's nothing like emergency wise or like that we need to hurry and get done.
No, I mean, I would, probably not at this point, since we already have permits issued for the year. They won't go into effect until next year.
Okay.
So if we would, when we get to this tonight, if the council, if someone would like to do a motion to table it one more time, then we can
Yeah.
fix the language, add however we want to word that in that last section about,
Well, and that'll give
So
our
if nobody
attorney time
motions
look
to
at it.
table it,
yeah.
then we'd go ahead and vote for it, approve it, and then we would revise it
Yeah,
in a
Yeah.
3.
yeah.
thing.
But if we wait, then it'll give our attorney time to look over
One
the
one
whole
last
thing.
look.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
maybe that's, I table.
Okay. Okay, I think that's what we'll do then.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's, no, that's fine.
It's,
What else,
it's
Councilman
better
Jensen?
than. Done. I had
Okay.
a question though
Yeah.
about the water with the HOA.
Oh,
As
yeah.
far as was it about the huge fee that they were receiving?
So,
Or
Some of it, it's sort of a multifaceted thing that's been going on for a while. Some of it had to do with bad readings when they were done electronically. So we've changed to like the, what do you call it, the ERT, whatever it is? Whatever that stands for. Anyway, when it was being read electronically, sometimes a digit was getting dropped. So back then when that number came in wrong, and then you're comparing the usage to the previous month, sometimes we were getting some wild, like you used 1 million gallons or whatever. And so, yeah, there was a series of months where there were overbillings and then credits and then penalties that didn't get taken off. So we had both a problem of reading a couple of their meters, mostly the one at Cedar Creek Center and then the one at the Aspen Hills office up there.
Most important.
Yeah, because they have about,
Or is it just the reading? Is it because of the meter or just the reading?
and whether it was the technology or the meter itself, we replaced the meter. And then now the team is, if they do an electronic reading, they are gonna also do a manual reading to make sure that they are taking the lid off and looking at the meter reading. And then the other end of that is on the billing end, sometimes we were having some mistakes on entering those manually read numbers, which kind of just compounded things. So at this point, we have reviewed all of the accounts. I believe we're good to go except on the Aspen Hills account, which we went back and took another look at it, and there's another credit that's going to be on that one because that was the wrong reading or wrong entry on that one as well. So I think we've caught up, and we've got, besides the manual reading process, when the guys go to do that over there, they're going to coordinate with Ernie Bigelow, the facilities director, just so he can be like another set of eyes and have confidence that what we're reading and writing down is correct. And then here in the office, as far as the billing, when that billing goes in, we're supposed to be reviewing all water billing accounts for any kind of anomaly. Because, usually people's usage is fairly consistent. So an emphasis on the association accounts, but also just an emphasis in general on looking for those anomalies in billing. And then a second set of eyes on that as well. So kind of trying to double check our internal billing process as well. So hopefully that's going to get after it, but we're going to also set up a meeting next week with Carrie and I think Julie. And Loretta to kind of walk through the sequence of events that led to all of this. So I think we're on top of it now, but it's...
How big of a credit is it? Because I know of almost 3 years ago, they were having issues and we're trying to get...
All total, over the last few months, it's been over $1,000, and maybe over the last few months it's been more than that cumulatively. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Her number was
like
4 times that.
Yeah. So I think
And I did ask Loretta too, and because Julie had asked me in that meeting, I said I would like to be part of that because I do want to be. That's what I ran on, was to be the liaison.
right.
So I would love to be more helpful
absolutely.
so that
And
the
we haven't
situation
set
that
the date.
transpired doesn't transpire again.
Absolutely. And we haven't set the date for that meeting, but I'll get with you to make sure it works for your schedule too. It's not gonna be this week just because we have this and then
It's not
stuff going on. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are on it. And I believe we are on top of it now, but it's been kind of a sequence of just some compounding errors, and then, sometimes the digital reading just doesn't, or the electronic reading is not working, so.
So did they get a new meter down at
New meter
Cedar?
at Cedar Creek
Okay.
Center,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
But and eventually that should be able to be read electronically, like all the rest of the new ones, hopefully.
It'll be replaced with a new meter.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
one of our
software.
new-
Yeah, when they
okay.
come in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right now it's kind of like a new old one.
A new old one, yes. And-
Okay.
But we may, depending on, we may want to continue the manual reading for a while, just to make sure we don't.
Everybody's reassured.
Just to
Exactly.
verify.
Okay, anything else? No? I have one thing real quick. Next week on Tuesday the 17th at 8 a.m., our new natural resources coordinator wants to do a disaster drill with the town staff. And so I wanted to invite the town council if you would like to come observe, participate. I know that also they're gonna, in addition to the town staff, there's gonna be a number of, what are we gonna call them, extras, people that are kind of participants in the disaster that are gonna help us out. But Alyssa has all of this coordinated, and it is next week on the 17th at 8 AM. And then we're gonna start up here? Okay, so we'll be up here. And it's gonna take probably 2 or 3 hours. So, but you, certainly if you come, don't feel like you have to stay the entire time. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware and know that you were welcome to come. I think the last time we had one of these, well, I don't think we've had one probably how this is gonna be, but I think Councilman Merrill and Councilman Ellis may remember a tabletop exercise a number of years ago. No, not even that long, where we came and sat at the tables and kind of read through the EOP. It wasn't really an exercise or a
Let's just
drill.
say it was, here it is, read it and see what you get.
Yes, yes, so I believe that Alyssa has some other intentions for this drill.
Okay.
And that is all I have, so if I could get a motion to recess the meeting until 7 PM this evening.
Oh, I have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
Was Stephen Allen, was he coming this week or is he coming?
He's coming in June.
In June,
Yeah.
okay. Good. Sorry.
I motion that we recess the meeting until tonight.
All right, do I have a motion from Councilman Bitter? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Toolson. All in favor?
Aye.